Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about tree nut allergies. Now, I may have done this before, I'm not sure, but if I did, it's in the past. And so I think I have more information and I think it's worth a little more uh, look at. So, the reason I am interested in tree nut allergies is that it is an allergy that I have. But the funny thing about tree nut allergy, it is now AI on Google says that it is a lifelong immune system reaction. However, I can tell you I haven't had it all my life. However, I may have been leading up to it and it's gotten worse. That could be. Because to be honest with you, I was never crazy about nuts of any kind. However, there was a time in my life, in my early 20s, when I developed quite the pecan pie obsession. And that's because I was in a place that made really, really good pecan pie, and I began to eat it like all the time. I gained a bunch of weight, but it was good, but eventually I ate that pecan pie and I had an allergic reaction. So the thing is, I have never been too crazy about nuts, and I haven't understood that we have a worldwide obsession with nuts. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But the thing is, I used to beg my mom if she made brownies, please make a batch with no nuts. And cookies too, chocolate chip cookies. Could you please make some without nuts? And so I never really got into nuts. I used to eat them, but anyway, now I actually am allergic. So what are common nuts in the United States? We have walnuts and pecans, and these are my two biggest problems. We have almonds, which are somewhat passable to me, hazelnuts, which I don't actually eat very much, cashews, which I like but do have a little problem with, pistachios, again, I like them, but I have some problems with them, and Brazil nuts are also quite the offender. So my worst offenders are walnuts, pecans, and Brazil nuts. The others, the almonds, hazelnuts, cashews, pistachios, I can somewhat tolerate, but only a little. And the other thing is peanuts. People want to say, well, what about peanuts? And we're going to talk about peanuts, but peanuts are a legume, and that means they grow below the ground. And so they're not quite the same as the walnuts, pecans, almonds, hazelnuts, cashews, pistachios, and Brazil nuts. So we're going to include them a little bit in the not nationwide obsession. We do have a nationwide obsession with nuts, but it's more than that. It is a worldwide global obsession. So let's talk about it. And as you can see, it's a global love. China is the #1 peanut butter consumer. However, Burkina Faso and other African nations really like peanut paste and ground nuts, and they like nuts as staples in soups, stews, and sauces. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize that Africa was very big on nuts, and I always thought about visiting maybe someday. That's something I might need to watch about. Vietnam eats about 62 pounds or 28 kilograms of nuts per person per year. Now, something else I want to add is Thailand, because I do like Vietnamese food. I especially like their addition of lemongrass and things, but I don't care for Thai food. Why is that? Because they use peanuts so much. And now, I'm not allergic to peanuts. Yes, I can eat peanut butter, but I don't like it. I don't like it very much. And especially, I think, because since I've been poor, people give you peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter, and I almost can't look at it anymore, just so you know. So anyway, also Greece and Iran also very much like salted, raw, or roasted nuts. Europe and parts of Asia really like hazelnuts, and also like the combination of hazelnuts and chocolate. And in the USA, we like our nuts too, but we really like processed nut spreads, and we eat about 4.25 pounds per person per year of peanut butter. And California produces about 80% of the entire world's population of almonds. So that gives you some idea of the of why we have a global obsession with nuts. And I have to tell you, as somebody that doesn't like them very much, I do not understand, but that's all right. So anyway, I have a tree nut allergy, and they say it's a lifelong immune system reaction. It might be, but if so, mine got worse later in life. Symptoms will range from mild itching and hives, which is how mine started, to severe life-threatening anaphylaxis, where that's where the throat swells, you have trouble breathing or fainting, you're not getting air. That's a very serious reaction. And you have to avoid nuts, and it says to carry an EpiPen, which I don't. But actually, they talked about giving me an EpiPen because of another allergy that I have, which is to bees. But I don't carry one. And if they say here that if you are allergic to one tree nut, you are more apt to be allergic to others, but it can vary according to the type of nut. So the skin reaction that you can have, first of all, you can react within minutes to 2 hours of exposure. And so you can have hives, rashes, swelling of the face, lips, or tongue. You can have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, or stomach cramps. Generally, I have the skin reactions, and respiratory sometimes. Wheezing, coughing, shortness of breath, cardiovascular, dizziness, weak pulse, or fainting. And then anaphylaxis is a very, very serious reaction that I explained earlier. And you have to check labels. I am not so sensitive that if the place prepares something with nuts, as long as I don't directly ingest them, I'm pretty good. But I don't like carrying a bag of them or working with them at all. And since I have been working with food, I have told them it's possible I can go to the ER if I deal with this. So they didn't have me deal with that. You should carry an EpiPen. I don't have one. And you can manage it with over-the-counter antihistamines, generally Benadryl, that type of thing, but they will not stop a severe anaphylactic reaction. That is an emergency you need to go to the ER for. So that's a little bit about tree nut allergies. With me, I find it just varies with the nut. But lately, I get pretty itchy with all of them. And but walnuts and pecans will cause hives. They've caused a lot of itching, breathing problems, that type of thing. So yeah, I used to shell pecans off the pecan tree with my mom and that type of thing. But I never felt well. I never liked it. But it wasn't until much later in life, when I overdid on pecan pie, that I began to really notice the reaction. So that's just a little bit about tree nut allergies, and I hope it was helpful to you, and I might put some links in.